I'd like to introduce my friend, Brad Hunt. Just dropped in from Kamloops, BC, where he owns ProTech Diesel Center. I really want to show him our new dual heat capable monster ram. How about an unboxing this morning?
Yeah, let's check this thing out.
This is for you. Okay, what do we got in the box?
Oh, there we go. Let's take a look at this thing. Red's your favorite color?
This particular red, because this dates back to a Budweiser-sponsored Firebird that I had at Bonneville in 1986. Here we've got the new dual heat capable monster ram. It's a lot like the tens of thousands of monster rams that we already have in the field. It reduces turbo lag and improves fuel economy. It also prevents catastrophic engine damage caused by killer grid heater bolt failure, which can cost you as much as $30,000 to replace your Cummins. We've sold tens of thousands of these things through the years, had one heater. We found that in working with Brad and other guys in the northern climates, that everywhere is not Southern California. So we got some complaints on cold start, so we decided we'd go to a dual heat, which is what we've done. Single heat goes here. There's two stainless steel threaded plugs that go outboard if you want to run a single heat. And a lot of guys are buying this model with this a single. And then you get to the colder areas of the country and you go to dual heat. And we'll get into that in a minute, but let's dig around in there and see what
else we got in here.
Yeah.
Well, that looks nice.
There's a manifold cover plate.
I like
fuel rail spacers were loose, and you've installed a lot of the billet ones with the loose spacers.
Yeah.
On the underside, I pushed the roof up to give you more section height in the manifold and radiused this so the flow comes right around. And it's a reverse curve. You see how it drops back here?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep the air molecules adhering to the surface as much as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of having a low pressure area right there. So I'm getting real technical, but basically this outflows the flat plates.
Yeah.
It's a high pressure aluminum casting, so you're able to pull that kind of stuff off. All right, so now we're doing the single heat version here. And then these guys.
I like how you put your logo on them. Make sure it lines up straight. Okay, there you go. You got to make sure they line up right.
Oh my God!
You don't want somebody to look at her crooked.
Just make sure you tighten them.
Just make sure you tighten them.
I don't care if they line up, but wouldn't it be cosmic if every time they line up?
It would be
with the proper torque.
Yeah,
it ain't happening. So the injection line. There's so much to this line, and you want this taper and this taper to engage properly into the cylinder head, into the injector, and onto the rail. So basically, you've got something like this going on. Injector being right here.
Yeah.
If the angles aren't correct and the bend's in the right place, you've got a taper going into another taper that's jacked, it's misaligned. And guys that make these lines rarely get it right. The first thing you've got to exclude is making them in China. You don't want anything, especially like that, made by some faceless, nameless guy in China. It just doesn't work out in the long run. It exceeds the OEM testing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys exceed OEM rail pressure and OEM pulse rate because they're buzzing the engine.
Yeah, not to mention the extra pressure on the line from them bending it. It's going to have hairline fractures in the line. They're not designed just to bend and bend and bend.
Exactly.
Right?
You're work hardening, you're causing fractures.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Cosmetic shield, I kind of insisted on this. This goes over the
EGR.
Yeah, the EGR valving. So this guy sits in there, and it's like an engine moo-moo. It hides what you don't want to see. You know,
right.
You know it's there, but you
know it's there.
But this looks better.
It looks better, so you don't have to look at it.
So that's something we do. It's a little unique.
All right.
So we're talking about the dual heat. To do that, we remove the plugs. So now that center heater goes outboard, and this is the dual heat upgrade kit. And we go one plug in the center.
Make sure you put the O-ring in there so you don't have an intake leak.
Exactly. And then we've got the jumper that basically is a U-shaped guy. And this gives you clearance to the dipstick bracket, which kind of comes out, goes up.
So when it comes to heat in this setup, you know, coming from the single heater. So now adding the dual, what does that
Exactly.
look like
The single heaters have always been 750 watts.
Yeah.
So this doubles that. We're now at 1,500 watts.
Yeah.
And we tested this in the cold cell. In the cold cell, we set up a truck. We did a 2024 Ram, about 8,000 miles on it, unmodified, stock
Yep.
vehicle. 12-hour cold soak. So it's depending on the temperature, we were going 20 below Fahrenheit and 30 below Fahrenheit. Of course, 30 below Fahrenheit is 62 degrees below freezing. For the guys who speak Fahrenheit, that's, God almighty cold.
Yeah.
We ran it on #1 diesel. We put AMSOIL Signature Series 5W40 motor oil in it. And that's kind of mandatory if you're going to run cold country. Get down into that 5-weight mola this. We went to the Interstate AGM batteries. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah, they're good batteries, yeah.
That seemed to be the one most Canadians recommended to us.
Interstate for sure.
Yeah, the Interstate AGM. New Mopar fuel filter, fuel water separator, and air filter. So, but stock otherwise.
And you're still running, and you were running diesel fuel, like non-winter rated diesel fuel.
We were running #1.
Yeah.
Tell me about winterized fuel.
They change. They run an additive, so they
would be #2.
Yeah, they'll run an additive in the fuel so that it doesn't gel.
Yeah.
Just because of the cold climate. So, you know, usually you get into the November, kind of November time of year, and a lot of them will start switching. They start switching over.
Who makes that kind of material?
Well, it'll just be the fuel companies, so like Shell or Chevron.
They're winterizing the fuel
they do it themselves, and then they just put it in.
So it's a winter blend fuel.
Yeah, so
in California, we have summer blend fuels and winter blend fuels, and we pay out the ass for them. Yeah, they do that up there on that.
They do that
on that winter blend.
They do that with Shell fuel because you can get their V-Power diesel, which has a fuel conditioner added into it right at the pump. Where people will run into trouble though in the winter is if they say live in Vancouver. You know, it's not cold down there really. Like it might get to 0 Celsius maybe, but not for long. It's usually in the pluses through the winter. So you'll have people that come from down there traveling through, and then they'll come to Kamloops and say it's a cold snap week, right? Where you get down into these temperatures,
and
minus 30.
It becomes a problem.
Now they're all gelled up and they're stuck on the side of the highway, not moving anywhere. So when it comes to this dual heat setup, this is definitely going to be a huge improvement over the original single. But in our shop, we generally in the Kamloops area, we can get down in that minus 30 to minus 35 Celsius in the coldest months of the winter, but it's short-lived. So where we are, we average, I would say, minus 10 to minus 15 Celsius overall. So we have tested in-house the single heat because we did have customers that would email us after our videos and they say, we're in northern Alberta, we get to these crazy low temperatures, we have a monster ram, our truck won't start, what's going on? And we took that information and we started doing in-house testing because we're like, okay, well, if this is an issue, we need to address it and get a hold of you guys and say, hey, this is a problem. So personally, we have had emissions present and non-present trucks in testing down to minus 20, like minus 25.
Non-present?
Yeah, we've done both. So when we're testing at the shop, I will test both ways because we have both clienteles. So people in Alberta, none of their trucks have emissions in Alberta, period. They don't. The oil field doesn't have them. Nobody really knows what the deal is. There's exemptions or whatever they have for the oil industry, or so they don't run emissions in the oil industry out there. They just they don't have any truck.
Whatever's going on.
Whatever's going on out there, they're gone. But I've tested it both ways. No problem. The single heater, we have them start to minus 25 C outside. I would love to see what we will get out of these. These will definitely go a lot more. If you got double the heat, you're going to get, a lot colder starts. But we have, a lot of guys that'll message and they'll be like, okay, well, we live in minus 40, degrees Celsius. This is not going to work for us. But the reality is with dual heat, it will. With single heat at minus 40 Celsius, you know, unless they're stuck somewhere, you wouldn't think that they wouldn't be plugged in, because the truck's not going to want to start. You would have to have a boost pack. You'd have to have extra, because there's just everything. Your oil's so cold. Everything. The whole engine is so cold. It's going to crank over at half the speed.
I'll tell you what we encountered, and we cold soaked at minus 40 a couple of times. What we encountered was, in fact, more than a couple of times, whether or not you have a boost pack. If you're not running block heat, that means there's no line voltage. There's no way to run a battery heater either.
Nope, that's right.
So if you have a boost pack, everything's going to be 6 to 7 volts at minus 40. What we found out in the cell, and this is a solid minus 40 because you go 12 hours in the cell before you try to start. It wouldn't even crank. It'd just go, boom. That's it.
Yep.
And when you do that, you see the voltage go boom.
Drop right down to nothing.
Yes.
Yep.
And your ECU quits working.
Yep. Anything under 10 volts and your ECU is going offline.
Yeah.
It starts shutting down 10 volts, 10.5 volts, it'll start shutting systems down. Like,
exactly.
You know, so that's the thing.
So
like,
your heater relay ain't doing its thing either.
Nothing. No.
So when guys say they want to start at minus 40, I'm calling bullshit because I've been there and it don't work for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But mainly the battery pack and the voltage. And we've got the best battery packs that we could find. Everything fresh, all the cables fresh.
That being said, these trucks that are going out into this atmosphere, for one thing, 90% of them are plugged in on site. And if they're not,
well, you see
they don't shut them off.
You see the lot with the posts?
Yeah, with plugs.
Yeah.
So like, generally speaking, people are saying, oh yeah, well it's got to start at minus 40, but it's really, they're not shutting their trucks off at minus 40. Most people. I'm sure there's some guys that do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, you're not going to work in minus 40, minus 45, you know, outside, and you're going to leave your truck just sitting there dead cold and then hop in it in the morning to go to work at 6:30 and hope it's going to start. Like, you're either going to be plugged in or you're just not going to shut it off. And I know a lot of places that are that cold, their vehicles will run all winter. That's it. Because if they shut off in minus 50, like, you go up towards the Arctic and you're going to be minus 50, you're not shutting that thing off. You live there now.
The other part is the oil itself. Even though we were running the 5W40, the problem is the oil viscosity. It gets real molasses in January. It just hardly flows at all.
Well, you're running dry for sure for at least a
what does that do to your
time,
bearing life?
Right?
Yes,
100%.
absolutely. I mean, functionally, even if the lubricant's there, it's not functioning as a lubricant. And
that's a big reason why a lot of the 6.7 Power Strokes are spinning cranks.
But they're blaming
I know. But
everything else, but the manufacturer, let's start there.
Yeah, but there's, you know, there's clearances and oil viscosity, and there's only so much room down there.
Well, if your clearances are tight, and the oil is like concrete.
And now you started at minus 30.
Yeah. There's not much shear capability there in the oil itself.
So I really like this added heat upgrade up to 1500 watts, but now what can we do for the guys that because we've installed hundreds of these Monster Rams over the last few years. So what happens for the guy now who has bought the original single heater Monster Ram?
Okay, let me grab one. Here we've got.
Oh, there you go.
On the outlet. So this is single heat. So you've got 750.
Yeah.
And another 750 on the outlet. And also, to make it all work right, we've got a sensor relocator package as well. So that comes with this, in this assembly.
It comes as a kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the guys that have the original Monster Ram, they can upgrade and get more heat.
Yes.
And not have to worry. So now you just have to order this kit and then...
And it just sandwiches in, the throttle's out here.
Yeah.
Or whatever you're using for throttle.
Yeah, and everything still lines up perfect and everything works good. So it'll be easy.
It's the same inside diameter as the throttle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if a guy doesn't want to come back and he's a little mechanically inclined, he can put this in himself. And
it's pretty straightforward.
It made it really easy.
The grounding is something essential.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the casting's cleaned when you bolt the ground
Sure.
strap in.
Yeah, just to make sure
Yeah.
that it makes a good ground connection.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got anything bigger for the guys that are going to say, well, these
Well,
2 heaters aren't big enough?
If a guy wants more and he's got a single, so this is our 1500 watt billet heater kit for a guy who wants to really heat the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Similar system, just an additional heater.
Keep all wires in the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that definitely takes care of that for the guys that are, in the colder climates.
That would get you to triple.
That would get you to
2250 watts.
triple. So
Yeah.
now my only other real question for this, because I know we're going to have, a lot of the northern climate guys are going to, they're going to see this new upgrade and they're going to buy this, which has your 2 heaters, and they're going to probably buy this. So now they're up to 4 heaters.
Which is 3,000 watts, well within the capacity of the relay.
Okay.
That's,
so that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. On some of the earlier trucks, there's been some relay recalls.
Yeah.
So we tested with the recall. No, we tested with the good ones.
With the updated relays.
Yes.
Yeah. So if a guy was to run this setup and put all the heaters in it,
Yep.
even you probably have guys even try and put one in there. Because they,
I've thought about that. Yeah.
Right.
That's another angle.
So
And the dual heat is legal in all 50 states, and I assume that includes Canada for emissions.
yeah,
but
for sure.
We got to do that. We're here in California.
Well, I think our emission standards are based off of what you guys do here in California. I think they're very similar.
So that being the case, the dual heat is emissions legal. So we're good to go there. If you want to go to a triple, it's not covered, but you're not in California. So local laws apply. If you're in Alberta, it sounds like there is no application of any.
Not really.
If you removed all the emissions equipment and you're worried about cold start with a tune where, well, you still got to have the relay work.
Yes. Yes.
You can't tune out the relay.
Which is what we've seen in a lot of third-party tuning, that they have turned those relays off because they.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. They unhook. We've had trucks come into our shop and they have unhooked the heaters because they figure they don't have to buy an upgrade or do anything. They'll just unwire the heater.
Yeah.
And then it throws a code. And some trucks, their remote starts won't work, or because they have an engine light on the dash, or they want to get rid of the engine light, so they go to their tuning companies that are doing their tuning on their trucks, and the tuning companies just write the code right out of the ECM. So now you've got a truck that has all the original parts on it with the code deleted, so you could be driving down the road with this bolt broke off, and we've had it where we've pulled them apart and found the bolts broke off laying on top of the valve stems. And no codes.
God.
Nothing. So, and
well,
there's nothing to warn anybody.
You're seeing all of it. You're seeing all the delete market.
We've seen all sorts
all
of different things, and all different variations. And so, and if some people will say, oh, my truck doesn't start with a Monster Ram, but they don't have any heater grid at all because it's been written out.
Exactly.
So it's not even a Monster Ram issue. It's a tuning issue.
It's a no heat issue.
It's a no heat issue.
Yeah.
So, and then guys that are, have stock trucks with full emissions intact, a lot of people don't think about this, but the EGR system actually helps with cylinder temperature heat on cold starts because once it is running, not on the initial crank, but once your truck is actually running, a percentage of your EGR gas is circulated through the intake, which is bringing up your intake temperature. Right? So along with all of these heaters and everything else, the EGR that's on the engine is actually going to increase that as well. So on a truck that doesn't have any of that, it may run a little bit rougher for that initial 30-second idle time. Like when you first fire up and it stumbles and you get a little bit of smoke, it doesn't have that added intake heat that a truck with all that stuff on it would have. So that's another thing that people are, maybe not thinking about when they think about how the system is designed and how it works. It actually has multiple purposes.
So when we were in the cold cell, we used the double preheat. as they instruct in the manual.
Accessory again, second preheat starting.
And then when you crank, there's no heat, but there's residual heat inside the casting.
Sure.
So the whole idea is to get a couple cylinders firing. And basically when you heat, you're heating the casting a little and the air inside the casting. There's a couple cylinders worth of air in the casting itself.
Yeah.
And it starts moving down into the cylinders that are getting injection. And off you go to the races.
Okay, so now that we've seen all this stuff, Gail, and it's all ready to go, I think what we're going to do for our market in Canada is get a bunch of this stuff on order and get a bunch of it coming. So
Good enough.
I think
Good
we'll
enough.
get a bunch of your single heat capable,
Okay.
and we'll take a couple dozen of your dual key capable setups, and then we'll take some of the dual kits and the single kits.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for the guys that really want a lot of heat, I think we'll start messing around with this setup right here.
Now,
And we'll add an extra heater into the center.
This is the Arctic setup.
Hey, for the Arctic.
My God, yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, worst case, if, you know, I don't think anybody would ever need that much heat, but, you know, but if they want it,
Yep.
it could be done. So really, no matter what a guy needs or where
Well,
your truck's being
You're
used,
going to get some experience through
messing
selling
around
these and talking directly to the guys who use them,
yeah,
talking to them about if you're a delete, what delete tune is it? What do you know about? You got to make sure the relay's still there for the heaters, but they haven't. Make sure the tune is still there,
yeah.
the calibration for the heat. So as long as that's all there, we found even with a full delete, they started a lot better with the stock heater calibration in the ECU's code.
For sure they would. Yeah, 100%.
Even if you're fully deleted.
Yeah. But even for the guys that aren't and are running all factory emissions, and guys that have anything from the original Monster Ram all the way up to the new Monster Ram, all of these various kits are going to work for every different walk of life. So you've pretty much covered the bases.
I know.
All across the board on getting guys going and making
And in
sure
the summer, you don't, if you've got a dual and this, you don't need to run this all summer.
No.
I mean, it just comes off pretty easily and boom, you bolt it back up with the stock length bolts.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you're running for, if you're running the butterfly or if you're running just a hose nipple here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
In the summertime, though, in theory, the ECM shouldn't be activating these if you're over a certain temperature.
that's absolutely true.
You know,
They wouldn't be activated at all.
They don't turn on. So
Right.
a lot of the time, you know, if it's hot outside, you know, in summer temperatures, it shouldn't be
never
asking.
touch it.
As long as their calibrations are right,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
below 66F is when they start heating.
you start heating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least a
So-
short blip.
So you could
Yeah.
just leave it all year round.
could.
And just leave it on there, and it'll just run in the wintertime.
So the beauty of these Monster Rams is the stock horn. If you do a cutaway on the stock horn, you know, you see you've got a diameter here.
Yeah.
It actually gets smaller where the EGR passage is.
Yeah.
And then it has this bump into flow, so it doesn't come nicely into the stock manifold or into the stock heater. It's all screwed up. That versus this is a couple of pounds of boost. Now you might say, well, I changed, but it's still the same boost. Yeah, but the turbo's working less to do it, which drops the drive pressure, gives you better fuel economy, or if you want to accelerate harder, lower drive pressure. This thing the exhaust stroke is what I'm talking about. The pistons produce the drive pressure.
Yeah.
If you take the load off the pistons to produce now lower drive pressure, you get more horsepower. So during acceleration, people will say, gee, it accelerates better with this.
Yeah.
Well, you've unloaded the compressor on the turbocharger.
It's not working as hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the stock boost loss is pretty much gone. And the turbo is kind of loafing, so to speak.
Yeah.
So everything gets happier.
So really, this is definitely the best setup a guy can get into. So
Thank you.
we definitely want to
Thank
get
you.
as many of these things on trucks as we can and save as many engines as we can, and you know, get them out to
And-
anybody that hasn't bought one yet.
for the guys that are curious, we're going to be doing a video in the cold cell.
Oh yeah, good.
So you see how we did it, what we did, what the results were. A little
For
more
the guys
formal
that
than
want to
this.
see, yeah.
Yeah.
For the guys that
Yeah,
want to
so
see
that's
the ins and
covered.
outs of it all. Well, Gail, we asked you to bring in more heat, and you sure have done that. I think you've gone overboard with the amount of options you have for all of the current Monster Ram customers and new Monster Ram customers. And yeah, we thank you for listening and getting a way better product out for
Thank
all
you.
of us guys
Thank you.
that are in colder climates.
We like bringing the heat.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we need. Okay.